Hi everybody and welcome to another tutorial on BeepStreet Drambo, the modular groovebox. In this video I would like to introduce how you can use the graphic shaper. There are a number of videos out there already in YouTube which talk about the graphic shaper. They mention that you can use it to saturate the signal, and that is not wrong. And then they show you how you can change the graph and therefore impact the waveform signal. However, in my opinion, to learn how to properly use it, you need to go back to the basic. You need to add an oscilloscope, and then when you have that there with a simple oscillator like a sine wave, then trying to change the graph in a number of ways that allow you to understand how the graphic shaper works, and that is what I'm going to do in this tutorial. So let's start adding first of all a normal oscillator and also an ADSR straight away. Right, okay, so we have an oscillator there and we have also an ADSR. Okay, I just put an ADSR here so for the amplitude so that it stops the sound going. So let's select as a waveform a sine waveform. Then let's add from the miscellaneous utility at the very bottom there is an oscilloscope. Here we go. Let's click and hold, select copy. Let's click on the plus sign, select paste to have two oscillators. Okay, so let's connect one directly to the oscillator, and let's decrease also act on this on the scale like so. Let's decrease the tune as well, like so. So in this way we have you can see directly a sine wave. Okay, good. So then let's click and add a graphic shaper, which you find here, graphic shaper. Here we go, under the shaper distortion of the process category. Here we go. And then let's connect the second oscilloscope directly to the graphic shaper. And let's again change the X scale to see what happens. Right, more or less the same value. Right, so now let's click on the graph here, or the graphic shaper, and you go into this view where you can actually change your graph. Okay, here you have a scale, and you can set it as a bipolar, and which will make sense because if you don't, then you cut straight away alpha, your waveform. It is a sine waveform, so it means you have positive and then negative as well below the 0 point here on the reference point. So let's check what it does if you change the scale. If you reduce that, look at the output here, right? It's getting smaller, right? And of course, if you increase it, it will get bigger in terms of the impact to that waveform. Now, let's look at the waveform and let's try to modify it in ways that hopefully will explain how it works. As you can see, is a continuous line at the moment going up from the bottom here to the top right hand side. If you click and move, you create another node like these oranges node or points. If you double click on a point, you actually remove that. So let's change that and move, actually let's leave it there. Let's add a point there like so. Okay, and if you look, nothing has really changed, it's the same. But because I introduced the point, now I can move this one holding this position here. Okay, so I practically zero this part here. So let's have a look at what happens. There you go. So the positive side of the sine wave has disappeared. Okay, similarly let's put this one down to the very bottom here, and look at what happens. So it's all negative, and there is no space between the different waves. Is practically inverted the positive side of the sine wave to negative. Okay, so therefore if you move these up like so, it goes back to normal. And if you move this one at the very bottom left to 0, you should 0 the negative. You see, the negative is gone. Similarly, if I move these up like so, I have only positive. So it really the output really depends on the type of waveform you have coming into the graphic shaper, and what you do graphically to the waveform. It does act as a saturation module, but you can create multiple points and therefore affect the output. So for example, now that we have all positive, let's introduce a point here like so, right? Click and move up a bit, so we have created a point. Again, no much of a difference. Let's click on these and oops, let's click on this point and move it like so. As you can see, I have saturated half of the positive side of the wave. Let's go back here and let's click like that and move up again and move these up like so. So if I go back, the waveform is a little bit higher, still saturated, but not as much as it was before. So hopefully you are starting to get an understanding how these work. So point here up, move this point down like so. And look, I saturated the other one. Okay, so let's click on this again. Let's move these up there, and this one something like that. We have a negative, but it is saturated as well. So let's hear it. Let's go up in the register. Let's increase the tune. Let's set it to the reset value, 130 Hertz. Now with this understanding, now you can go back to the graphic shaper and manipulate it further. Okay, so if you say, okay, I want a little bit more negative, okay, so like so, it will start to get even closer to the sine wave. But it's not quite a sine wave, because the top on the negative and also on the positive side is cupped. Okay, so hopefully, having gone through this tutorial, now you understand how the graphic shaper works. I have used the sine waveform as an input to it. Of course, you can change that. It could be anything else, but you can use now these to your advantage in terms of manipulating waveforms of any nature which are going through the graphic shaper. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, see you next time. Bye.